What's up guys, hello and welcome back to another video. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing some TikTok skaters from obviously TikTok. Now if you guys watch a lot of skateboarding on YouTube, you find there's so many creators on YouTube but not so many on TikTok. They also do YouTube shorts. Today we're going to go over 3 creators. One is a friend of mine from the UK, that's Ashley Mercer, the one we're going to cover first. Then we're going to cover Johnny Ringer, which is a massive guy on YouTube now. He's got so many followers, like 700k on YouTube, like 1.3 million on TikTok. And then we're going to cover another friend of mine, and that is Young Wavy. We're going to go through their videos, see what the content is like, and then if they've got any skate advice, which I think Johnny Ringer's channel is mainly skate advice for beginner skaters, we're going to critique it, see if it's actually any good and if it's good advice to follow, and the same for Young Wavy. And we're going to start off with one of my favorite content creators of all, and that is my friend Ashley Mercer. Now if you don't know this guy, basically what he did was he started restoring old skate parks, and he made such a great series out of that. We're going to go in with this episode 1 of I think the second series of what he's doing, and I'm going to leave all the links to these guys down below in the description. But what Ashley's doing here is he's rebuilding the worst skate park in the UK. At least that's what we've branded it as, the UK's worst skate park. So with all that being said and the intro out the way, we're going to jump straight into this first one and then move our way up to the other creators and give them a ranking out of 10 Tonys. Let's get straight into it.
Hey everyone, my name is Ashley and this is part 1 of rebuilding the UK's worst skate park. So yeah, we've got a new name for the series just because it's more fitting as to what we should be doing. Because in terms of restoration for the skate park, it's all pretty much done. Everything's back to how it was when it was first built. Initially when I started this project there was 3 things that we wanted. 1, to get it back to how it was. 2, to make it safe for everybody. And 3, to get it back on the map.
So when he first started the series, I'm not going to spoil it by showing all the videos, but the most satisfying thing about it is actually watching him do it. Like this whole section here was completely overgrown. These barriers, you couldn't even see them. You didn't know they were there. This whole section was completely overgrown. Actually, if you are watching this, I'd highly suggest posting this as like a big supercut long video on YouTube because it would work really well. And then obviously this ramp here, the coping is like buried into the ground and then it slowly comes out as it goes round. They actually revamped it. Hopefully they'll show it in a second. I'll show you what they did.
We did every single one of those in season 1.
Oh yeah, and it was renamed to Ashley Mercer Skate Park.
Got renamed after me, which is absolutely crazy. But today we are talking about things for the future. So right now this is the plan of the bowl, and this is what we have planned for the bowl coming in the next few months. Big up Jeremy Donaldson for drawing these plans up, and it's going to be nice to finally make use of the money that we had donated all the way last year. And the company that will be helping me build this will be Opus Skate Park. So go and check them out on Instagram, see what they're all about. Some of their stuff is insane, and I can't wait to have them on board. So yeah, fresh start, and I can't wait to finally get started and finally get building.
So this section here that he just grinded around, they decided to put a second coping in. Basically they wanted to replace the coping and put something new in, but instead of removing what they had because it was buried into the ground, what they did was they just plonked, this is not what Ashley did, this is what the people before Ashley did, but they just plonked another coping dead on top of the first one that makes it look freaking ridiculous. Like this bowl is one of the sketchiest. I mean, I've been to this skate park. This bowl is one of the sketchiest I've ever been to in my entire life. And honestly, Ashley's done such a great job by rejuvenating and renovating it. But let's watch the end of this video and then watch another one.
Stuff. I appreciate everyone being patient. And look, I get it. It is what it is. I said this last year. There'll be not many episodes just because of the weather. We can't get anything built. Complications with the council. Numerous letdowns from different people.
That was a competition he hosted on the day.
Did. But look, I single-handedly took on this mission to improve this abandoned and dangerous skate park, and from that forged such an amazing community of people and brought this skate park back to life. This little skate park means absolutely everything to me, and this community that I have built also means the world to me. I love you all. Have a good day. Hey everyone.
Right, so that was Ashley's first video. We're going to watch another one of his. Maybe even, let's watch the first ever episode that he did so you guys can see where it all started. So this one here was where this whole series started. It has a massive amount of views, and you can see Ashley's the most followed TikTok skateboarder in the UK. You can say that I was probably a TikTok skateboarder at the start, but Ashley's like 3 times the size of me. I think I'm the second largest. Okay, sadly we can't watch the first episode as it's been muted by TikTok for some ungodly reason, so let's see if we can find another one to check out before we jump into old Johnny Ringer and Young Wavy. Alright, another thing that Ashley does is he rebuilds DIY skate parks, so let's check this one out too.
Building a DIY skate park. And as always, we're starting the day off at Wix. We headed back to the old DIY skate park just to see if there was a few things that we could scavenge. But we headed to the new DIY skate park today.
So this is one thing that kept happening to him. Every time he would post a new video, someone would go and destroy what he had made the day before. Like the community, especially in like, I don't know if it's the skate community in general, but the kids, they just love to fuck up stuff. Maybe it's just for attention and getting their name in the videos or trying to get noticed for whatever reason they want to be noticed for something like this. But yeah, every single episode they kept destroying his stuff and breaking his builds, and it's just ridiculous. Like, he did end up catching them, but again, if you want to see that, make sure you go over to Ashley's TikTok and watch through some of his videos, because he is pretty damn good at this content creation thing.
Today to find it has been destroyed. And there's only so many times I can attempt to actually keep this skate park going. But we adapt and we overcome, so we decided to use the bricks from the flat bank we was going to build to basically make a bowl corner, so like a quarter pipe corner type of thing. So we just arranged them in like a bit of a curve, stacked all them on top of each other and basically built them up as stairs just to basically give us a bit more like nice foundation. Then we cut the wick chicken wire to size, whacked it all on, put a bit of debris in there, and then started making the concrete. Once the concrete was done, we poured it on, and then we basically just smoothed it all out, making it all nice again. However, I did kind of mess up a little bit and didn't get enough material, which is my own fault. I really need to start getting more help, because there's only so much I can do as one person. In the next episode, we'll completely finish it off, and we'll make sure we've got enough supplies to get it all done. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.
But yeah, that's Ashley's content, to be honest. One of the best to do it in the UK, in my opinion. He's only just getting into YouTube, so you should definitely check out his YouTube channel. But what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into Johnny Ringers and check out the TikTok advice and see if it's any good and see if it's worth a follow, because he's got over 1 million followers just like Ashley, so it must have some merit to it. But I'm going to critique it as someone who's taught skateboarding for quite a few years now. So let's jump straight into Johnny Ringer and see where we end up. Let's go. Oh yeah, and I'd give Ashley a solid 7 out of 10 Tonys for his content. It could be a bit more consistent. Definitely some room to improve with how much he's uploading and whatnot. So a 7, maybe an 8 out of 10 for Ashley. Let's jump into Johnny's and see where he lands. So old Johnny Ringer right here. Let's do the how to power slide tutorial.
Anyone can learn to do a power slide on a skateboard. This trick is the coolest and most efficient way to brake on a skateboard, and you can all learn how to do it. So beginners and posers, listen up. First, you got.
No, that is one thing that he always does. He always says like posers when he's talking about skaters and stuff like that. Like, I know it's to trigger people. Like, it's a great marketing thing for his videos. It gets people to comment like, what? For example, first comment. What is a poser in skateboard? Like, it really does trigger people to comment. And I've just noticed he's wearing the Nike SB Dunk lobster shoes, which I swear to God are like $500. So big, and if they're real, big up to Johnny for actually skating them, because that is a brave soul.
The back foot should go right where the tail starts to curve, and the front foot should go somewhere on the screws. The next step is to try to do the 90-degree stop motion with little or no speed, and then after you get comfortable with that, do it with a little more speed. The faster you go, the more you have to lean back and keep your feet in front of you. This will make sure that you stay balanced while you're sliding, and once you go fast enough, you'll start to slide and want to revert back. To do the revert back, simply just put some weight on your back leg and you'll turn right back to normal. And now you know how anyone can learn to do a power slide on a skateboard.
Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a decent tutorial, a very quick one because it's obviously TikTok zoomer brain style, but that did really work out. Hardly a trick, more of just like a stopping maneuver, but still, that was some decent advice. Let's see if he can continue that of a few different videos. Let's see if he's got anything good. And I mean, just looking at the views on this stuff, the views on this are crazy. We've got things skaters do that just make sense. Let's try that one.
Things that skaters do that just make sense. We like to find places that skaters have already skated. This is because it shows us that it's probably a good skate spot, and we also like to wonder what we could try on it. Some ways we can...
That is true. However, I think personally, I like to find places that you would never normally think to skate. Like just a tiny little bank or like really weird ledges or whatnot that you might not be able to grind, but you could hit like something to a tail stool or some crazy ass things, or something just jumping into or jumping off of stuff. Like, there's so many different ways you can look at skateboarding, and the more you open your eyes to all different kinds of obstacles, the more fun you can have doing weird stuff. But he is definitely right there.
You can tell if a spot's already been skated before is if it has dark ledges. Here's how a ledge looks before skaters, and here's how it looks looks after.
Yeah, you can tell that it's been waxed to high heaven if it's got that black corner.
Spots like this, for instance, show that you could be in a skate spot heaven. This happens because before we can skate a ledge, we have to wax it to make sure we slide across smoothly. And next up is finding skateboard remains. Finding things like wax and hardware is a clear sign that skaters were just there, and if you look around, you might find a sick skate spot. And if you do find one, just skate it and have a little bit of fun. And that is things that skaters do that...
Just a little bit of fun. Why can't we have a bit more? But yeah, that was good. That was a decent one. We'll do a couple more and see how we go. This rain skating for one.
Things that skateboarders are scared of. We are terrified of skateboarding in the rain for a lot of reasons.
In the chunky donkeys as well, man. I'm no shoe guy, so I couldn't tell you if those are real or not. But yeah, big up to him.
Starting with that, it
brave man.
The ground super slippery. When you're cruising in the rain, you can pretty much just slip out and fall at almost any moment, which is sketchy. And next up is it damages our skateboards. The rain makes the decks waterlogged and soft, which makes it kind of hard to pop your tricks high. It also ruins your bearings and doesn't let them spin as long, which is...
It just makes the board super, super heavy. I think that's why it's hard to pop, because the board absorbs all the water. So it makes it really difficult to actually get some height, and obviously it gets super soft as well, which is never any good. Like if you're skating and your board's dry and you're popping off some soft wood, you get kind of the same feeling, but obviously it's a lot worse when it's soaked into your board.
Not good at all. And next up is that the rain's gonna make a lonely skate sesh, because no one's really trying to skate in the cold, wet, sketchy rain. But there's also nothing wrong with getting a good old solo sesh sometimes, and that is things.
I think if you can afford it, or if you have an old setup that you don't use anymore, it's always fun to have one that you can skate in the rain when it gets a bit wet. It is going to be a bit more dangerous, obviously, but I think so far so good. Johnny's actually holding up with his skate advice so far. So we're going to watch maybe 1 or 2 more videos and then jump into Young Wavy and see where he holds up with all these guys. Let's try and find another tutorial and see how he does that. Let's check out this skate hacks one and see how that works.
Helpful skate hacks that you can try right now. Everybody knows that skateboarding's super hard, so here are some hacks to help make it easier for you, starting with chipped boards. Nobody likes chipped boards, but thankfully there's an easy way to fix it. And no, it's not just leaving it there or taking out the chips. It's actually just finding a hard object like the ground and slamming the board on it. That's right, just hit the board right where you're...
Alright, this is a very, very temporary thing. Like, as soon as you hit one more obstacle, the chip's just going to fly back up again. Like, people do this if you're just like trying to get through the end of the session, but it's not going to help you over days, in my opinion.
Chip is, and it'll jam right back into place. This works mainly with small chips, and if your chip is too big, it's probably not going to work. The next hack is if you're struggling with tricks, and all you actually need is just a little bit of wax, and what you're going to do is wax the tail right around where you're popping and scooping your tricks. This will mainly help you for tricks where you have to scoop the board because it makes the tail...
Okay, so I've actually done this video before back in the day, and loads of people said, how is waxing your tail going to work? There is actually theory behind this. Think about when you're at a very smooth skate park and the ground is just so smooth that you feel like you can get such a nice pop off it. That's because the very minimal amount of friction you get from popping off a rough ground, from the ground being uneven or rough, then that can interrupt your pop or send you off in another direction slightly. Only the very, very tiniest bit, but that tiniest bit when you're trying to do a precision trick can actually mean a lot. So having wax on your tail means your tail will slide along the ground easier, and especially for rough ground, the science behind it does actually help. So many people will probably say that it doesn't, but trust me, this is one that most people will disagree with, I'm sure. But until you've tried it, waxing your tail does help you ollie higher, but only the tiniest fraction. And if you're skating super rough ground and you're trying to do scoop tricks or kick flips or double flips or whatever, having that tiny bit of wax on your tail will help you out, in my opinion. So I think that's actually a good bit of advice that not a lot of people would know.
I feel like it's sliding on a super nice smooth surface no matter how rough it is, and it makes scooping your board way easier. So if you're struggling on a trick like a pop shove it, just put a little wax and your pop shove its might look a little bit more like this. And also if you're struggling with tray flips, just put a little bit of wax and it's going to be a lot easier to flip that tray flip all the way around like this. And now you know.
See, I think a lot of people would disagree with this video mainly, especially if you don't know much about physics and skateboard related stuff, but Johnny actually is hitting the nail on the head here. And I'm actually going to say Johnny's advice is pretty spot on. Obviously, I've not gone through and watched all the videos, so there might be some bits that I disagree with, but so far, I think Johnny has actually got some really, really good advice. We'll do one more video before we jump into the next geezer. How to not get roasted at the skate park.
How to not get roasted at the skate park. A lot of beginners and posers are scared to go to the skate park for the first time time because they think the local skaters are going to be really mean, but this isn't true as long as you follow the unspoken rules of skateboarding. Starting rule is to catch people's boards. If you see a board flying towards you and you let it hit a wall, you can look like a jerk.
Bro, in every skate park I've been to, everybody does this, but in London, people just don't seem to care for your boards. I don't know, it just seems like, you know, the cold attitude that you might get in New York or in London where people just don't even look at you and smile or whatever, and they're just not very receptive to new people. I feel like London's the same, but 99% of skate parks would do this, but there are just certain ones that people feel like, oh, I'm not going to help this guy, I'm not going to catch this board. But maybe that's just my experience, but that is my personal experience.
Jerk to the other skater. So if you see a board coming towards you, just catch it like this and you'll be appreciated for it. The next rule is for waxing ledges and rails. Waxing can make obstacles slippery and easy to grind, but if you overdo it, it can actually make people slip and fall really bad. So if you want to wax a ledge that someone's already skating, you shouldn't do that because it can be dangerous. What you should do is ask them, hey, can I wax this? And they'll probably say yeah. But the most important rule is
true. Like if you're going to wax something and you see someone else skating, if you're the only person skating it, by the way, in the entire skate park, say no one skates the rail and you're just seshing it on your own, feel free to give it a little bit of wax. But if you see someone that's actually skating the same obstacle as you, especially if they've been skating it before you got there, definitely ask, do you mind if I put a bit of wax on this? And if they say yes, just put a tiny bit on, test it. If it's not enough, put a tiny bit more on, but just put it on very incrementally so that when you do use it, it's easy to get the exact amount that you need. So that is a good tip as well.
Don't pretend to be someone you're not. There's never a reason to lie or over-exaggerate your skate abilities to the locals because they're going to see you skating and know that you didn't live up to it, which will make you look silly. There's nothing wrong with being a beginner or not knowing how to do a trick, and when skaters see you struggling, most of them will actually come up to you, give you advice, and help you out on it. And now you know.
Alright, so the skate advice here on Johnny Ringer's channel is actually pretty damn good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump over to Young Wavies and see exactly. Also, I would give Johnny a solid 9 out of 10 Tonys. Like, he smashed it. Johnny's advice is really good. Let's see how Young Wavies holds up. We're going to start with this My Tips for Hard Flip video.
Alright, here's my tips for hard flip. This is a tricky one, so don't forget to practice. The first step is to really figure this flip out.
Okay, I feel like he maybe just recently learnt this trick because it seems he's slightly underturning it. And if I was to give advice for a man that was slightly underturning it, your back foot, while it is in a good spot and you are getting the board all the way around, if you literally move this back foot over like an inch and just have it like there, not even an inch, maybe half an inch, you'll get so much better of a scoop and it will come up vertically and flip instead of going around like a frontside shove it flip. Like, as someone who does a lot of hard flips, I feel like that is the big key to getting it all the way around all the time.
Spend a lot of time studying how it
As you see, he's catching it at like just under rotated by like 30 or 40 degrees. So like that tiny bit of difference will make a big difference, trust me.
works. The back foot kind of pops it forward, and then the front foot barely flicks off and catches it.
Yeah.
Really master getting the catch down, because that's overall what's going to help you land it. From there, you can just try to plant both feet on the board. You kind of do like a twisting your legs motion. This one takes a lot of tries for me to land, but if you don't give up, you'll definitely get it.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you put that foot a bit further across to the edge just so you don't keep landing a bit under rotated. But other than that, the advice was good, and I also feel like you need to jump quite high. For me, I feel like my hard flips are a little bit unique in the fact that my legs don't really split with the board going between them as much. I kind of just jump super high so that the board goes under my feet, and you end up popping them really high by doing that. But the way he's doing it is slightly easier, but just to get that rotation extra, put that foot further towards the outside of the tail. Let's check another video and see how the other advice is. If you can ollie, you can definitely pop shove it. Let's watch this one.
If you can ollie, you can definitely pop shove it. So here's a few tips that will hopefully help you land.
These are very quiet. I'm going to have to turn this up real quick.
First thing is to get comfortable with the rotation. Try to get comfortable with just popping the board with your back foot. Then the next step is to try to catch it with your front foot. This is the part where a lot of people will get stuck on, but this is one of the most important parts of the shove it. So try to get really comfortable with this motion. And then the next thing is just to land mostly on your front foot, and then just try to let your back foot follow.
Seems pretty legit.
Having a catch is super important, because if you can land with your front foot, the back foot should follow. Alright, the last tip is that it's not about commitment, it's about practice and experience. I think a lot of people want it easier than it really is, and what it really takes is a whole lot of practice. So if you really want it, then practice every day. Practice as much as you can, and it'll slowly get easier.
Yeah, I think the big mistake that some people make is that when they land it, they think, okay, I've won, I've got the trick, where in reality, you just have to keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And if you don't, you will lose it. And if you want to get good at it to the point where you can do it this clean and consistent, you just have to do it so much. So make sure that when you learnt it, you don't give up on it and you just keep pushing forward with it.
Be patient and just work through your failures.
Exactly.
I promise you'll get it if you don't give up.
Okay, well, this advice seems solid as well. Honestly, I'd give Young Wavy a solid 8 out of 10. I've watched a few more of his videos. They all seem pretty legit. So if you want to check him out, I've left all the details for these guys in the description. Thanks for watching. Let me know your favorite TikTok skater, and I'll see you guys in the next video.